The wind came hard across the plains that morning, dragging dust like a curse across the dying town of Red Hollow. Every board creaked, every soul struggled, and Mary Caldwell stood in the dirt street with a wagon that held the last pieces of her old life. Rusty tools lay piled together, hammers worn smooth by years of honest work, a cracked toolbox, a handsaw still marked with her husband's initials, J.C. John Caldwell had been dead 6 months. 6 months of empty nights, 6 months of hunger, 6 months of townsfolk pretending not to see her when she passed. Because grief was contagious and poverty even worse. Mary pulled her shawl tighter, her fingers trembling not from the cold, but from what it meant to sell these tools. They weren't just iron and wood. They were John's hands, his sweat, his promise that he'd always take care of her. But promises didn't fill a stomach. "Tools for sale," she called out softly. No one stopped. Men walked past her wagon, glanced once, then away. Everyone in Red Hollow was barely surviving themselves. Widows were low on the list of concerns. By midday, Mary's legs were weak. Her stomach burned like fire. She thought of turning back, of keeping the tools and starving with them. That's when the sound of hooves cut through the wind. Slow, heavy, confident. A tall chestnut horse stopped beside her wagon. The man sitting atop it wore a dust-worn coat and a wide-brimmed hat pulled low. His face was weathered, eyes sharp but not cruel. A rifle rested easy against his saddle. He studied the tools. Then he studied her. "How much?" he asked. Mary swallowed. $2 for the lot." That was a lie. They were worth more, but desperation makes you cheap. The cowboy didn't answer right away. He dismounted, boots hitting the dirt with purpose, and lifted the saw, running a thumb along the blade. "These belong to your husband," he said. It wasn't a question. Mary stiffened. "Yes." "Good man?" "The best." The cowboy nodded once, like he understood something most men didn't. Then he reached into his coat. Mary braced herself for disappointment. Instead, he placed $10 into her shaking palm. Her breath caught. "Sir, this is too much." "No," he said quietly. "It's not." She looked up, eyes wet. "Why?" He met her gaze fully now. "Because I know what it costs to survive alone." He loaded the tools into his saddlebag, then paused. "Name's Luke Mercer, Mary Caldwell." Luke tipped his hat. Then, as if it were nothing, he added, "You got somewhere to go tonight?" Mary hesitated. Pride fought hunger and lost. "No." Luke looked at the sky. "Storm's coming." He gestured toward his horse. "Come with me." Luke Mercer's ranch sat far beyond Red Hollow, where the land rolled wide and free. The house was small but solid, warm, alive. Mary ate that night like she hadn't in weeks. Luke said nothing, only poured more stew and pretended not to notice her tears. She planned to leave in the morning, but morning turned into days. Luke never touched her, never pushed. He gave her work, real work. Feeding chickens, fixing fences, cooking meals. For the first time since John died, Mary felt useful again. At night, she slept without fear. The land was hard, but honest. Luke was the same. One evening, as the sun bled red over the plains, Mary finally spoke. "Why are you helping me?" Luke leaned against the fence. "My wife died 5 years ago." Mary's heart tightened. "She got sick," he continued. "Town doctor said she wouldn't last the winter." He was right. "I'm sorry." Luke nodded. "I didn't think I'd marry again. Didn't want to." He looked at her then. Not like a savior, not like a predator. Like a man standing at the edge of something terrifying and beautiful. "But I also know this," he said. "Life doesn't ask if you're ready. It just keeps coming." Weeks passed. Mary laughed again, quietly at first, then freely. Luke taught her to ride. She taught him how John used to sharpen tools just right so they'd last longer. One night, wolves howled close. Luke grabbed his rifle and stood guard till dawn. That was when Mary knew. This wasn't charity. This was partnership. The proposal came without ceremony. They were repairing a fence when Luke said, "You don't owe me anything." Mary wiped sweat from her brow. "I know, but I'd like to build something with you," he continued. "If you want." She didn't cry this time. She smiled. They married under an open sky with only a preacher, a witness, and the wind for company. Mary kept one thing from John, the toolbox with his initials. It sat in their home, not as a wound but as a reminder. Love didn't erase the past. It honored it, and then kept going. And in a land that broke many, a widow who sold tools to eat found a cowboy who gave her something better than survival. He gave her a future. Mary stood at the edge of Luke Mercer's land as the sun climbed the sky. The plains stretched endless and quiet, a world far removed from the hunger and cold of Red Hollow. Luke waited near the corral, fixing a loose saddle strap. He didn't rush her, didn't ask her to stay. That mattered more than words. "I should go," Mary said finally. Luke nodded. "You can." Silence filled the space between them. Mary looked back toward the road, the same road that had taken her husband, her home, and nearly her hope. There was nothing waiting there but struggle. Here there was work, respect, safety. She turned back. "If I stay, I won't be a burden." Luke met her eyes. "I don't carry burdens. I carry partners." Something in Mary's chest broke open, not in pain but relief. Weeks later, the townsfolk of Red Hollow whispered when they saw her again. Stronger, straighter, riding beside Luke Mercer like she belonged there. Because she did. She had sold her past to survive, but she had chosen her future to live.